morning all to all participants. As this is a Zoom webinar, please note that all video and audio are automatically off. If you have any question during the presentation, please feel free to type them in the Q&A box and the speaker will address them during the Q&A session. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good day to everyone. Thank you for joining us in this International Day for the Conservation of the Mangrove Ecosystem webinar. Academician Emeritus Professor Tan Sri Dr. Mazan Osman, the co-chair of the International Conference on Tropical Science, TropSc 2024. Senior Fellow, Fellow of Academy, member of Young Scientist Network, Academy of Science Malaysia, YSNASM, the Academy Partner and Affiliate. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our fourth pre-conference webinar, part of the Future Belongs to the Tropic webinar series. This webinar series celebrates the tropic and highlight the importance of science and technology in the region. Additionally, it serves as a lead-up to the International Conference on Tropical Science, which the Mahathir Science Award Foundation and the Academy of Science Malaysia will jointly host in July 2024. Today's webinar is a joint effort between the Mahathir Science Award Foundation and the Academy of Science Malaysia, where we are celebrating International Day for the Conservation of the Mangrove Ecosystem, focusing on protection and restoration of mangrove ecosystem in the tropic. Ladies and gentlemen, now before I pass the floor to Associate Professor Dr. Aldrie, our moderator for today, please allow me to introduce him a little bit. Associate Professor Dr. Aldrie, a mangrove ecologist by training, is a senior lecturer and research fellow at the Institute for Environment and Development of University Kebangsaan Malaysia. He obtained his PhD in the field of marine science, mangrove ecology from the University of Queensland, Australia in 2011. He has led and participated in various research projects related to mangrove ecology, management and conservation, and published a substantial amount of publications. In 2017, he initiated the establishment of the Malaysian Mangrove Research Alliance and Network, or namely My Mangrove, to promote multidisciplinary and collaborative research among academicians and scientists. Associate Professor Dr. Aldrie currently serves as a commissioner member of the IUCN SSC Mangrove Specialist Group. His primary research interests and specialization in the ecology and dynamics of mangrove are now expanding through a developed interest in understanding the connectivity, complexity, and socio-ecological system of the tropical and subtropical coastal habitat and environment. Without further, I would like to invite Associate Professor Dr. Aldrie to moderate this session. Please welcome Dr. Aldrie.
Thank you very much, Mr. Daniel, our MC for the day. And good morning and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the webinar celebrating the International Day for the Conservation of the Mangrove Ecosystems. It's a happy day today for all of us to celebrate. Mangrove is, as all you know, is the trademark, is the signature habitat and ecosystems of the tropics. So this is very significant for us to celebrate the international, the upcoming TropSc conference. So this is very significant as a celebration towards that big day. Perhaps Daniel will later update us on the upcoming conference too, maybe at the end. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and participants from around the world, welcome to the International Day for the Conservation of the Mangrove Ecosystem webinar, of which our theme for this year, title alone, how important they are for all of us in the tropics, and not limited to the tropics alone. So that's the clue, that's the gist of the presentation today by all three of our very distinguished speakers, if you like. Yeah. So what are we doing today is to gather and to shed light on the critical issue on how it is very important for us to protect and conserve mangroves. Yeah, as many of us know also, 95% of all the mangroves in the world can be found within the tropical belt. Yeah, so just 5% outside within the subtropics, mainly maybe in Australia and South America, and perhaps also in Northern America. So this is the enclosed region, if you like, where we can find mangroves. Yeah? So this very exclusive throughout the planet. So this is what we want to highlight today. This is what drives our discussion today, towards the end later. So they are not only biodiverse, yeah, in the sense that they are home for specialized plants as well as animals, yeah, but they are also crucial, particularly for climate regulation and coastal protection. So we all know also, yeah, so far that they are very efficient in absorbing, storing, yeah, sequestering carbon, and they are also important defender of our coastlines. Yeah? This is home, yeah, for the key source of protein, yeah, for users from throughout the globe. Yeah. All right. So before we proceed, we aim, yeah, this is part, yeah, this webinar is part of a big mission to raise awareness about the as they play a vital role, in sustaining biodiversity, mitigating climate change, as well as supporting livelihoods of millions of people around the world. Yeah? But also, there's a trick to that. We are losing mangroves. Yeah, we lost a lot before, and we are still losing, yeah, bit by bit by bit every year. So this is a concern actually. Yeah. So how can we stop this? Yeah. Perhaps later our panelists can discuss all of this information with all of us. And we have three very distinguished panelists, like I mentioned earlier, and they will discuss about three slightly different topics. Yeah. So the first speaker will highlight, yeah, the governance of mangroves within Southeast Asia. So we will look at the regional perspective first. Yeah. So on how mangrove governance can be shaped. And then our second speaker will highlight the importance, all of these benefits provided by mangroves, yeah, and how it is not only securing life limited to the tropics, but as well as the global. Yeah? And then the final speaker will highlight the title of our webinar today actually. So it will be close on discussing on how community on the ground, yeah, on how NGOs can contribute, yeah, to mangrove conservation, and how it is important actually to link community, NGOs with government agency, corporate organizations. So our last speaker, our final speaker, will highlight about this. Yeah. All right. So take this opportunity to learn, yeah, from all of our panelists, and please do join in the discussion later. So as we go, you may address your questions in the chat box. Address your question in the Q&A box, so the secretariat can extract that and perhaps share with us the speakers today. Yeah? All right. So it is my pleasure to actually welcome our first speaker, a very good friend of mine. In fact, all three of them are very good friend of mine. We've met along the way in the past maybe 10, 15, 20 years in our work as mangrove ecologists, as researcher, scientists in mangroves. So I've met all three of them along the way. And the first speaker today is Professor Dixon Jevana from the University of Philippines. Hello, Prof. Dixon, can you hear me?
Yes, Dr. Aldrie, nice to see you again.
All right, nice to see you too, and thank you for accepting invitation from Academy Science Malaysia as well as the Tropical Science Foundation. A little bit about Professor Dixon. He is a professor and UP scientist at the Department of Social of the University of Philippines in Los Baños. Yeah, is it still correct, Prof. Dixon?
Yeah, still correct.
All right. And you are also the director of the Forestry Development Center, actually, right? I mean, the FDCC and CFNR. It is a policy research center of the University of the Philippines. So Dixon is the chair of the Agriculture and Forestry Division of the National Research Council of the Philippines. And mainly I know a lot of Dixon's work on mangrove blue carbon and governance studies in the Philippines. Yeah. So without further ado, Dr. Prof. Dixon will highlight to us, on how the title is Shaping the Future of Mangrove Governance in Southeast Asia. So let's hear about this big picture, the regional picture first, and then let's go and delve into all the issues that Prof. Dixon will highlight to all of us. So the floor is yours.
All right. Thanks a lot, Dr. Aldrie, and it's so nice to be invited and speaking with equally committed researchers and workers in the conservation of mangroves. And big thanks to the Tropical Science Foundation and the Academy of Science Malaysia for the invitation and for putting together this very important event. So let me greet you all. Happy Mangroves Day. It's for we call ourselves mangrovers, no, or those who are working on mangroves. This is a very, very special day for us. And let me share about this topic that is very close to my heart, shaping the future of mangrove governance. And I would like to talk about the context of our region, our dear region, Southeast Asia. And, I'm coming from these three important questions when I, decided to pursue this topic to share with you. Why shape? Why do we need to shape the governance? Are mangroves really in bad shape? The second one is, what does the future hold for our mangroves in the region? And lastly, how can we overcome if there are indeed diverse governance challenges working together to conserve our remaining mangroves? Okay, for the first question, are our mangroves really in bad shape? Southeast Asia, we have lost 110,000 hectares over the past 2 decades. And that 110,000, as I look at the statistics right now, at least the 2020, 15 to 2020, that 110,000 is almost a fifth of what Malaysia has today. So the Southeast Asia has about 4.5 million hectares. This is based on the recordings of the FAO and external studies, external recordings of Bunting et al. If you're familiar with the Global Mangrove Watch, that's another source where we can compare. But anyhow, the key message is that we are losing more than what we are planting. We have as much as 0.34% annual deforestation rate in the region. And on the study of Bunting, all countries have negative trends. Some are minimal or negligible or slim, but in some countries, they have indeed serious annual deforestation problem. We would like to envision a green coast, particularly mangrove areas like this one in San Pascual, Masbate, which is one of my sites with my collaborators, the WWF Philippines. So it's a lush mangroves. Back there, it's a pasture land. So the mangroves help, protect the soil from erosion and those sediments going to the seagrasses and corals. So because they're there, and this particular photo that I also like, there's a balance of land uses, rubber plantation somewhere in Myanmar, one of our sites in an APN funded project a few years back. And right there, mangroves are kept along the coast so that it's stabilized, the slope as well, of the rubber plantation. And going around, see a lot of good stories that there are indeed big mangroves, like on the left, that's Sunyarate Alba. That's my team with the WWF Philippines. At the back is Abyssinia Marino. Abyssinia actually is officinalis. It's a big tree, no? We are very, very excited to see such trees, no, and measure them for their carbon stock. And we have learned, no, and there's increasing awareness of the true value of mangrove. Perhaps over the past 2 decades, much interest on mangrove conservation was due to this, no, reason, no, the realization that they store voluminous amount of carbon stock, unmatched as compared with other tropical habitats or ecosystem, may it be the terrestrial forest, no? So 3 to 4 times than the other forest types. And studies are you know estimates are becoming more reliable and convincing. Like for example, in the analysis or the report from Indonesia, almost 1,000 tons carbon, no, or a megagram carbon per hectare was reported by the group of Dr. Daniel Murdiar. So yeah, and with that voluminous amount of carbon stock, we can say that mangroves play a critical role in climate change mitigation. Hence, if they are really in bad shape, we're losing a lot of them, then that also contributes to carbon emission. We are in the race to net zero. No, we are in the race to fight climate change. But such problems are indeed how to say that, very apparent and becoming more serious. Globally, we're losing about 21,000 hectares now per year. All right, and then the most serious is basically in our region, where 50% of like dead, like aquaculture. No, now there are many more problems. Deforestation. No, one of course is the massive sediment loss due to black sand mining. No? So I have seen this particular site, and I asked one of my students to work on to examine what's the impact of dredging or black sand mining to the coastal erosion and leading to the loss of mangroves somewhere in the northern Philippines. This, of course, conversion of mangroves to oil palm, construction of these rough roads, that basically disrupts the natural flow of sediment from the upstream to the coastal, and that basically cause coastal erosion as well. Logging is no longer that big problem. We have so many policies, being enforced to prevent or to prohibit cutting of mangroves, but we are still losing them because of the other drivers, like land use changes. So like for example, this particular photo, all right, and then seawall, everywhere along the coast, and it traps the mangrove, it traps the water coming from the upstream, then causing flooding, and then mangroves right there are trapped at the back of the seawall and they drown. So we are seeing a lot of this. These seawalls are in response to storm surge and future sea level, right? But we need to act on what particular ideal and correct design when we have this gray infrastructure, so that they will not damage our remaining mangroves. All right, and roads everywhere, like for example, in this particular photo, and this one too. One of my students will be working on this particular site, construction of coastal roads, very wide road, then leaving the mangroves, trapped with all those sediments and floodwaters coming from the upstream, and sooner or later they'll be gone. And this one too, So the problem has shifted from just major aquaculture expansion to really other infrastructure development. Mangrove forest fire, I have seen this. It is virtually impossible for a mangrove to catch fire, because they are day by day, there is a schedule that they will be underwater because of the tidal change. But it was made possible because of too much solid waste. There was perfect moment, low tide, dry solid waste, and then an accidental perhaps burning of the waste that led to this mangrove forest fire. So what else? Dredging, pumping of sands, leading to again to coastal erosion, like somewhere in Manila Bay. How can we say that coastal erosion is becoming more serious? Look at the loss of sediment when it comes to the height. No, that is an indicator of erosion. When you see, much of the roots of those mangrove trees, like for example, this is Avicenna, is already exposed. All right, and then what else? Upstream cattle ranch, adjacent to mangroves, causing much sedimentation because of, like for example, there are, we're in the tropical region. Rain is very often, and there is not much vegetation, of course, in the grazing area, and that induce erosion. And those particles, sediment, will surely go to the coast and will, in a way, cover the roots of the mangroves. And it's very critical for mangroves to have their root, much amount of their roots are exposed because that's where they breathe. And in this case, I have seen this. Their roots are covered, and it's very difficult for them to breathe anymore. That's why they're breathing on their lenticels. And look at the stem of this particular tree. It's already, the lenticels is already enlarged. And, one can say that this tree is very much stressed because of what is happening with these land use transitions or land use changes. That's why we have to understand how we can shape the governance, how we can shape our solutions, and finding those strategies or solutions. Of course, we need to understand first the drivers. There are socioeconomic impacts, socioeconomic drivers, and biophysical drivers. So that includes largely population, demography, policies. For biophysical, of course, we have the geological hazards, natural hazards, and of course, climate change. And the pressures, we also have socioeconomic pressures and biophysical pressure. And we need to understand the state. As I mentioned a while ago, we have already lost 110,000 hectares over past 2 decades. And once the state is a degrading and decreasing, or there's a deforestation trend happening. And then the impacts of that, of course, is coastal vulnerability, degraded ecosystem. And we can spell out the whole day what could be the succeeding impacts of those. And with that, when we, after understanding driver pressure, state impacts, then we need to craft the right response. Is it just planting? Of course not. If there is a one message that I would like our audience to get from this particular sharing of mine, solving the mangrove deforestation problem is not, it cannot be solved by just planting. It's a mix of solution, So, yeah, of course, we need to pursue community-based management, strengthening policies, securing local international funds, and importantly, climate proofing mangrove management plan. And what's the likely future of our mangroves? So I'm happy to be part of this group. We look at the Western Coral Triangle. So in the future, by 2100, based on projection of sea level rise, 26% of our remaining mangroves, particularly in this region, will be submerged. And we are seeing a lot of losses by that, impacts of sea level rise. So we are seeing about 0.32% per year. So if you look at the the figures I have shown a while ago, it matched actually deforestation. Now, the thing is, will the anthropogenic cause, like we cut mangroves, we convert them, or we put up roads, and would that be worsened with, the likely impacts of sea level rise? The answer is yes. This is just sea level rise. The other one is anthropogenic. So combining it together, that will be a big challenge for us to conserve of course, what we have right now. So can mangroves cope up with sea level rise? Well, actually, it depends. Some areas they cannot. Like, for example, in this particular photo in Palawan, right there at the back, it's already rock wall. Mangroves are not orchids. They cannot climb the wall when there is a, already a increased tidal level. All right. So we need to keep what we have right now, expand them as possible, so that when sea level rise, which is very gradual, as 2100, as we go to 2100, mangroves has the ability to accrete, to make sure that it can survive. But if we are continuously destroying them or degrading them, then of course the answer will be they will not be able to survive the sea level rise. And reshaping or shaping the governance, we need to understand these mechanisms or this dimension, the future's triangle of Southeast Asia mangrove. Of course, we have this pool of the future that we need to be ready in, the impacts of climate change. There is now a call for carbon neutrality. We have already good technologies to monitor mangrove resources, mangrove ecosystem. We know how to analyze them in a way, big data analytics, AI, silver. These are the pool of the future. What I would like to say, at least we have the tools we need to be able to make the right conservation. But the thing is, we cannot, go forward to the right direction if we are still being pulled back by the weight of the past. What is that? We still have big problems on land use planning, land use conversion. We still have big problems on, low prioritization of mangrove conservation. And in general, the environment usually receives the small budget when it comes to funding of the government, for example. No? Penurial issues, overlapping policies, those are the weight of the past that we need to, to solve, so that we can really have a good push. There's a good push of the present, of course. The coastal population how can we manage that well? Because many of the pressures on mangroves are as because of the increasing coastal population. And we need to manage finance, nature-based solution finance. What else? Geopolitics. So we already have now the biodiversity targets. And all of this we need to address to be able to go forward to the right future that we want, a resilient and an enhanced future, an enhanced well-being future, kind of future. So that basically points out that we need a right compass and we need a roadmap for mangrove, not just per country, but we need, I believe that there should be a mangrove roadmap for the Southeast Asia, right? And this roadmap is basically composed of this particular thematics. When we can say this is a good roadmap for our region, if we have a roadmap, a plan, for the right governance. Governance is not just about policy; it's about leadership. It's about transparency. It's all about all things in terms of management, policy, institutional directions. All right. The second one is transformative livelihoods. How well are we moving to this kind of direction, transformational development? Number three, we need maps. Mapping priority conservation site. We cannot say that we are going to plant mangroves in all our coastal areas. We need priority sites, and make sure that those priority sites will be kept well, as we go to 2100 and beyond, or 2030 and beyond. And lastly, a good roadmap has a clear framework on sustainable investment. Right. So future-proofing mangrove. Or let's start with the basic again. It's all, the critical first step is the agenda. We need a right agenda. As I mentioned a while ago, planting is just one of the solutions. But what are the other needed, solutions to be able to arrest the continuous deforestation of our coastal ecosystems? So agenda needs base. It must be clear and a good understanding of the problem. That's why I showed a while ago the driver, pressure, impacts, no, DPSIR, state, no, and respond. And if we have indeed a good, cohesive and coherent agenda that will help us determine the R&D or research and development priorities, no, and what needs to be, as far as the researchers are concerned, many of our, perhaps of our participants are into research. There are many more, there are much research now on blue carbon, but what else are not being studied? So that will be determined if we have the right agenda. We need to fill up the gaps because we need our policies to be science-based, our research to be communicated well and clearly to our policymakers. We know that, no? And if we have indeed a good mangrove blue carbon policy and institution, then we know how we can craft the right plans, goals, and priorities. No? It's always coming up with priorities. What should be our near-term goal over the next 10 years? What should be our, doable targets? So we need milestones as we go forward to 2030 and beyond. All right. And if we also have a very convincing, correct, contextualized agenda, then that will, of course, direct, inform the funding. Most of the funding will be on planting, but as I've said, there are other other aspect that needs to be funded as far as mangrove conservation is concerned. All right, and number two, shaping the governance. We need a clear national, or in most cases local as well, policy basis to promote mangrove blue carbon conservation. If we don't have any policy pointing towards the need to mangrove conservation, then we will always expect that mangroves will always receive the less priority. Number three, translate these policies to actions. No, translate policies to national, international, of course, roadmap and go beyond 2030. I mentioned a while ago that there should be mangrove protection coupled with mangrove restoration, and done, no, in the essence, a principle of cooperation and collaboration, multi-stakeholder. So over the past 2 decades, I guess Aldrie also has, has observed it. There's an increasing number of conferences, meetings, projects related to mangrove blue carbon, mangrove conservation, basically on nature, as we go along with finding solution to many global problems like climate change, desertification, biodiversity loss. So we are seeing a lot of this, and we're happy. It's becoming a bigger and bigger family working together in conservation, like this one. And we need to capitalize on this. Like, for example, the Global Mangrove Alliance, very active civil society organization, non-government organization. Then the government have started to listen to the plight, to the recommendation of these groups. Even the scientific community is part of this alliance. What is the particular ambitious goal of Global Mangrove Alliance? Is to increase the mangrove extent, the global extent of mangroves by 20%. What's the target? 2030. Ambitious, but I believe it's doable. Why develop institutionalized roadmap? Because it secures non-negotiable mangrove restoration and conservation targets. At the end of the day, if we have a lot of mangrove conservation areas, but still they are up for grabs, sooner or later, politicians will say that, okay, the project there for mangroves is done, then it's high time to convert them to mangroves. Then that's a big problem. That's why roadmap is important to determine those areas that are non-negotiable. These are priority conservation areas. Second to that, there are so many interests now for mangrove conservation, restoration, rehabilitation. And in a way, we have limited areas to do that. And there are now duplication of funding, in a way, competition among these fundings and project developers, under the name of carbon, blue carbon, under the name of livelihood. So we need to manage this, in a way competing, or I don't want to say conflicting, but in some essence, there are already conflicts. No? So we need a good plan, a roadmap on how we can manage all these interests. We know already the 30 by 30, by 30% of our protected areas, of our land and sea are under protection or other conservation methods. So that's the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, and the recent COP, in UAE also, supports this call of expanding our protected areas and conservation area. So what's one of the major goal of that particular call is climate change, so that we can assure that we are sequestering or keeping as much as 10 gigatons carbon dioxide per year. Number 4, we need to adopt an integrated watershed approach or framework when we do conservation. It's not just about thinking of what we can do along the coast without even considering that many of the problems that happens on the coast are driven by the problems from the upstream. Mentioned a while ago, the sediment flow, the hydrology, all affecting, from the mountain, all those affecting the condition of the mangrove. Finding the balance between green and gray. We cannot say that, we need to protect mangroves and stop or, prevent other development. But we need a good design, good mix. Like, for example, here in Brazil, in Recife City, mangroves at the middle. Well, basically, there should be also mangroves at the seafront. No? But anyway, here, they were able to keep a good cover of mangrove. They have good engineering design of tidal flow coming in to this particular spot and going out to the sea. So another one is in Panama, in Iloilo, of course, maybe in your respective countries. In Malaysia, of course, there are also good, stories and designs of good mix of green and gray. Here in Singapore and China as well, they have, a good model as well of green gray. Number 5, we need to manage increasing interest and investment on mangrove restoration work. Right now, I would say many of the interests are really into blue carbon project. So we have a lot of those interests. We seemingly have, although there is increasing interest, there is a limited areas to restore. So that's why I always tell the government, the national government, to be very, very careful on launching big reforestation projects. Why? Because that will actually decrease the opportunity for private sector investment over a high quality blue carbon project. Because once you have planted most of these areas, there's nothing left for a very good project. So that's why, again, roadmap is important. Where and when we can set aside areas. This is for private sector investment. This is for other future opportunities, and this is for the government. All right, and then manage expectations. Focus on creating tangible economic benefits, tangible benefits for the local community. Well, again, at the end of the day, we may have good mangrove cover, but people remain poor. That's why it's very important to know their needs, their aspirations. Many of our projects, when we go to the community, we just tell them like, we need this mangrove conservation projects to solve the biodiversity, to solve the climate change. But, those things are in a way not that, in a way important or immediate for the community, or not really easy to understand. What they need are income, food for subsistence. That's why we need to communicate well, and we need to provide or to reorient our objectives to meeting their needs first, and of course the rest of the bigger goals will follow. And trying our best to organize them to work well for the particular conservation goal that we have. So we need to measure, finding the right measurement and reorient our project and policies in terms of transformative changes. When you say transformative changes, how well are we incorporating this criteria in our project? Strengthened rights, increase renewed collaboration among stakeholders, enrich culture and tradition, improved income and livelihood, assured multi-generational interest and commitment to conserve mangroves, particularly among the youth, because we need to, encourage our young generation to partake, to commit, in the conservation of our mangroves. It cannot be done by the present day generation. The problem is getting worse. Climate change problem will be very, very difficult to solve in the coming next decades. That's why we need our young generation, next generation to be ready. All right. It is for them, like for example, for this community who are dependent on mangroves for their survival, and can't help but during this mangrove day, this kind of people who are smiling, they are happy to be part of the cause of conserving our mangrove. Okay, second to the last, sustain and promote local mangrove initiative and champions. Government should be very receptive, very eager to really promote local initiative, successful stories, strong local community. That's why in the Philippines we have this, like the Oscars award for the coastal areas. We call it Para El Mar. So this particular local government unit won the best mangrove award, and that alone can help us encourage more local government unit across the country to do the same, to inspire them. And let me share about this current project that we have now. It's called Smile Growth, Sustainable Mangroves Through Innovations, Livelihood Enhancement, Promoting Growth and Climate Resilience. So this project is, it basically focused on understanding the socio-ecological system first, and then after that, crafting the right livelihood strategies. Most of the time, we just jump right away providing people with livelihood, while we don't understand in the first place their needs, their context, their culture, the environment, the mangrove resources. So very important that we do it step by step, stepwise, right? So after livelihood strategies, then we are eyeing for how can they be in a way promote their resilience and how can improve them as a social enterprise, to be ecologically and economically sustainable. And also would like to plug this a collaboration of mine with the National University of Singapore, Carbon Governance in Southeast Asia. We have one team there working on mangroves and blue carbon, particularly all understanding the carbon governance. So yeah, I would like to dedicate this particular lecture to our children who will stand up and commit in the cause of ensuring healthy mangroves and planet for a greener and resilient future. So again, let me greet you all. Happy World Mangrove Day. Thank you, and to God be the glory. Salamat po.
Thank you very much, Professor Dixon. Maraming salamat. And yes, again, yeah, today, and it is actually also a welcome to many. Actually, the number of participants doubled just within half an hour ago. So welcome to all of you who just enter or join the webinar. We have actually representative, of course, from around Malaysia, Philippines, and Indonesia, but we have also friends from Timor-Leste, from Pakistan. So I reckon it is a huge international webinar today we are having. So again, responding to Prof. Dixon just now, happy World Mangrove Day. Happy International Day for the Conservation of the Mangrove Ecosystems to everyone. So, Prof. Dixon, go get your coffee if you want, and sit back because we need you for later for the Q&A session. Yeah. But yes, there you go. A lot we can learn from Prof. Dixon's presentation just now. Not only happening in Philippines, that all of the issues highlighted actually are happening in our country as well, in Malaysia, in Indonesia, and all around the tropical region. So there are in strategizing what to do next, right? I like your point of tying all of our efforts to big global initiatives and efforts. But like for example, many are actually aiming for 2030 as the deadline. But I always like, you know, kind of advice that not tie all of our effort just to 2030. I think you agree with me. So we have to plan like further. That's why the roadmap, I think you are suggesting until 2050, 2100 and beyond, right? So because this is an action that we are doing to assist mangroves as well, to assist our future generations to enter the future. So that there are very important points there. We note all of your advice and suggestions, Dixon. So let's later discuss further on some of the points. Yeah. All right. Let's move next. Yeah, to another good friend of mine, fondly known by all his friends as Satyam, Dr. Satyam. How are you, Satyam? Can you hear me? Let's test your microphone. Say hello to everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Aldrie. Thank you so
All
much
right.
for inviting me. Yes, can you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear
Okay.
you. Let me introduce a little bit to all the crowd that we have today.
Sure.
So Dr. Satyam is an associate professor at the Institute of Oceanography and Environment at University Malaysia Terengganu. He's there on the east coast of Peninsular Malaysia, facing South China Sea. Actually, if you take boat from Terengganu, you can straight away get to Dixon in the Philippines, crossing South China Sea, or the West Philippine Sea, they call it, in the Philippines. And yeah, so he did a lot of study on mangrove ecology, on forest dynamics in mangroves, and Dr. Satyam also is an expert in I would say micro and microbenthos, within mangroves. And a lot of about crabs and a lot of organisms are living in mangroves as well. And then, yes, he's a mate with me in the IUCN SSC Mangrove Specialist Group. And then, of course, he is the contact person, the key person for Tropimundo program, master program. It is the Tropical Biodiversity and Ecosystems master program, actually based in Vrije Free University of Brussels, in Belgium. But he's the local coordinator here in Malaysia. So get to him, talk to him, speak to him if you want to get this scholarship on a very awesome master program on tropical biodiversity and ecosystems. A lot of research has been carried out already all throughout Malaysia, all throughout. Yeah, there are some other sites that you work on. I think you've done some work. I think all throughout Southeast Asia, as well as also the Gambia. Yeah, you work in Africa before. Will share with us about how important mangroves are. Mangroves for secure life and safe planet. There you go. So he wants to share with us on how mangrove that we have now will take us to become future proof. Yeah, okay. All right. So 15 to 20 minutes, Dr. Satyam, for you to share your insights, your ideas with all of us. Yeah, the screen is yours.
Can you see the screen, Aldrie?
Yes.
Yeah, thank
Hi,
you.
it's good. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, first of all, my heartfelt greetings for the Mangrove Conservation Day. I'm sure this is the most remarkable event for me today to join you all. And I'm pleased to be on board for this particular event. And I'm grateful to the TropSc conference organizers, for giving me this opportunity. And also, I remember last year I was in Colombia planting the mangroves. So today I was there in Colombia for the mangrove conference, MMM6. Yes, today I'm going to say a few words after listening to Dixon quite broad. So I want to bring down to a bit narrow to Malaysia and to see how mangroves are important for the secure life on a local scale as well as the global scale, and how to keep our planet safe by protecting such kind of fascinating ecosystems. So today I'm here to represent Mangrove Research Unit at University Malaysia Terengganu, together with my colleagues from Belgium, who we regularly work together. I assume there might be some non-mangrove researchers and common general public on board today with me. So I just wanted to highlight the uniqueness of this mangrove ecosystem at the beginning. So when you look at it, definitely the mangroves located at the land-sea interface close to the river mouth, which is a dynamic ecosystem, and it is regularly influenced by the low tide and high tide. That means even to go and visit such kind of places close to the river mouth, you really have to take into some sort of a tidal predictions and so forth into account. That means you have to have a proper plan for visiting such kind of forest. And the second is the root, the structural complexity of the root system, which is so beautiful, and it is not so easy to walk, but it is the way the mangroves really the symbolic of the mangroves, which to protect themselves as well as to protect the land, which is an important feature of this mangrove. And sometimes even you have to climb 2-3 meters just to measure the diameter of a tree, which is fascinating, right? So there are difficulties as well to go and visit mangroves or to conduct research, but at the same time, unfortunately, we are losing the mangroves on the other way. So either through the human intervention or from other natural consequences. So it is a different story, by the way, but it is, as Dixon previously highlighted, and also Aldrie said, that we unfortunately we are keep losing the mangroves, and where we need really have to take firm actions now onwards. So when we look at the global scale mangrove extent, we have 14.5 million hectares all over the world. And in Asia is contributing up to 40% of the global cover. And we are so happy as Malaysian, there must be a lot of Malaysians, so it is so happy that Malaysia is occupying 6th position in the world extent of mangroves, top listed countries that supporting the mangroves, next to Indonesia. So coming to the mangroves in Malaysia itself, we do have 630,000 hectares, of which 82% of mangroves located in Sabah and Sarawak, whereas peninsular Malaysia is supporting 18% of the mangrove cover. So again, when we look at the east coast and west coast of peninsular Malaysia, the west coast is supporting a greater extent of the mangroves compared to the east coast, which is completely exposed to the direct current from the South China Sea. So when we look at, you must have been looking at this kind of information for a long time. The mangroves offer a wide array of goods and services, which can be categorized into 4 major items, like provisioning, regulating, supporting, and cultural values. Until recently, we have a lot of importance for the provisioning services, because most of them are tangible. That means we can see that and we can calculate that the outcome of that products. But in recent years, the regulating services have come into the limelight, especially in the wake of climate change. Then carbon sequestration has come up, and then now a lot of government agencies, state governments, and the countrywide, and also the lot of corporate social responsibility from the private parties and NGOs. They're all really looking after a lot of potential sites for the carbon sequestration. How can they be part of mangrove conservation? It is a good move overall, and it is a very promising step that can we can bet on for the better conservation and management of the mangroves. But as Dixon indicated, it is not just planting. There are several things we have to take care of that kind of efforts. Anyway, good thing is like regulating services have come up, although many of them are intangible, but carbon sequestration has come up into the limelight in recent years, and many people are focusing on that particular aspect quite well. And if you can understand the importance of mangrove ecosystems with a wide array of goods and services, the mangroves are contributing to each and every sustainable development goal. So though they have a major stake for SDG number 14, but they are contributing to other SDGs as well, directly or indirectly, with the minimum to maximum contribution. So that means the mangroves are fulfilling almost every SDG in one way or the other, and that in itself highlights the importance of mangroves for a greater conservation. And we have to have a environmental gratitude for the mangroves. We have to have a greater environmental appreciation and gratitude for the mangrove ecosystems. But however, although you say the mangroves have been so much valuable and they are contributing to all SDGs and there are so many goods and services, but for the policymaker, what is important is money, how much economy it can generate. So even these days, the economic value of the ecosystem goods and services is also upcoming. That means every ecosystem value and goods are converted into certain economic value, which was estimated to be 2,000 to 15,000 US dollars for an hectare. And this income is expected to rise in the coming years because of the blue carbon projects, and a lot of afforestation programs have been conducted and so forth. So there is a good potential and good development of research is also going on in both tangible and intangible services in terms of the evaluation of their economic evaluation of their goods and services. This particular slide, I would like to show you how the beautiful cities and most populated cities are located along the coast. So you can see that so much population, so much property and beautiful cities, they are all located along the coast. And you can see how densely they are populated. So what if there is any consequence like sea level rise, that kind of things which are really coming up, and then they are emerging much faster than expected rates. So how the mangroves can protect that kind of situation? When we look at it, the recent literature suggests that the property value along a 20-kilometer stretch of mangrove could reach up to more than 500 US dollars. That means million US dollars of more than 500 million US dollars of property can be saved for every 20 kilometers by the mangroves. Similarly, it has the potential of mangroves to protect the people for every 20 kilometers could go beyond 150,000 individuals. So you can really feel how secure we are if we have mangrove vegetation next to our coastline. So this is clearly an evidence that they're really our life is secured if the mangroves are there for us. So no doubt about it. So this is what I wanted to highlight in this way. And as I said, the regulating service, one of the regulating service is the blue carbon. And everyone knows the mangroves are contributing a greater extent of blue carbon stock compared to other ecosystems in the coastal and terrestrial ecosystems. So when we look at the greater extent of mangroves worldwide, no doubt the Indo-Pacific, what we call it as wall mangroves, they're really sequestering a greater amount of carbon, and the global extent of mangroves are believed to store up to 4 billion tons of carbon. And we are so happy in Malaysia. Yeah, it is really contributing nearly more than 6% of global carbon stock when we compare with the total extent of the mangroves. So we are really doing. I mean, we are somebody in the global list. The Malaysia itself is something really that is looking after the mangrove ecosystem, that do reasonably good, and then contributing good for the global extent and sequestration of the carbon. Mangroves. So when we look at the total carbon stock, the countries Indonesia, Brazil, Malaysia, and Papua New Guinea, which are highlighted in the yellow circles, they're just together containing more than 50% of the total carbon stock. And this, according to the recent global estimates, it is even raised the global mangrove stock, carbon stock in the mangroves can even go beyond 5 to 9 petagrams of carbon in total. So which is a greater amount that one. And particularly, we are so happy that the countries like Indonesia and Malaysia are really contributing to a greater extent for the carbon stock in this. No doubt there are, the carbon is quite important nowadays, and the mangroves are one of the ecosystems that can really capture the carbon quite fast with a very strong burial rates. And the carbon that's stored in the mangroves can stay for millennial scale. That means if you don't disturb, it can stay for a long duration that can help to mitigate the climate change impact, some of the climate change. That's one of the reasons we declared that mangroves, we can declare that mangroves as a nature-based solution. And this is could be a best solution for most of the cases around the world. So by looking at this one, then we started looking at, okay, how much carbon can, where exactly it is stored. So if you can recollect the mangrove carbon stored in Indo-Pacific, and it was clear that greater amount, 50 to 90% of the carbon is stored below ground. So that means it is quite important. That means especially they projected below 30 centimeters depth. However, the recent estimates are mostly confined up to 1 meter depth of the cores, not much deep cores available. And very few studies have reported deep carbon stock in the core samples, but most of the studies are, even the blue carbon projects are mostly concentrated on up to 1 meter depth soils. So then we started thinking by taking an example in Malaysia itself, how deep we can dig a core, go for a core sample, and how the carbon value. So we did some exercise by taking Matang mangrove forest as an example. So you all knowing, those who are in Malaysia, you are quite familiar with Matang mangrove forest in the state of Perak on the west coast of peninsular Malaysia. So this is a forest that is one of the longest silviculturally managed forest for the production of poles and charcoal. In the world, very few forests are subjected to this kind of commercial exploitation, so Malaysia in Matang is one of the forests. Then we wanted to really identify how much under the silvicultural management, how the carbon is really changing, because they have thinning exercises and clear felling exercises in the mangroves that could really bring a lot of changes to the carbon stock, isn't it? So that's why we wanted to go for Matang and then see how the potential of Matang for the capturing carbon. So we went to different managed sites and unmanaged sites with different age categories, and we went up to the 10 meters deep core samples, and we analyzed at 20 centimeter intervals the carbon concentration. And this is the first time in literature that we have a carbon estimates from 10 meters deep, actually. So we also included unmanaged forest of virgin jungle. The results were quite interesting. You will be surprised. The first up to 3 to 4 meters has a very high carbon stock. This is pretty good, and that's nice to show the potential of the surface, the sediment depth until 4 meters. And also the interesting fact is, even the depth at 10 meters, the carbon is not zero. It is still holding the carbon up to 100 megagrams carbon for a hectare, which is unique, ice-breaking. That means even at 10 meters depth, we were able to observe the carbon stock in the mangroves. This is clearly highlighting the depth is very important for the carbon projects as well. The soil depth is important. And as you can see, the undisturbed, unmanaged forest like Virgin Jungle Reserve has a greater amount of carbon. It is quite natural. When the mangroves are not disturbed, then definitely they contribute to a greater extent of carbon stock in the forest. So when we look into the total carbon stock of Matang mangrove forest, what the earlier scientists found and what we found based on 10 meters square, almost 5 times higher than what the results are. So it is definitely, that means we really have to look into the depth of soil sediments. It is definitely going to change the picture of carbon estimates all over the globe. If we look into the depth-wise carbon stock, it is quite important for us. So yes, we know mangroves are quite important, and they are giving a lot of service, both tangible, intangible services, and then it is also really benefiting the climate change. I mean, mitigating the impacts of the climate change, and then protecting the peoples and forestry. Unfortunately, there are countries like Myanmar, Philippines, including Malaysia, are also still hotspots for the loss of mangroves. Good or bad, the Malaysia is still in the secondary hotspot, that most of the mangroves have been found to have the clear fell just because of the oil palm plantations and the crop plant plantations. So our own research suggests that peninsular Malaysia, 40,000 hectares of mangrove cover was lost between 1944 and 2018. So it is a 31% of the original extent of the mangroves. It is so bad that we lost it. But anyway, it is time to take more actions and then implement the conservation measures even for us. Meanwhile, the IPCC has come up with, raising temperatures than expected values, and which is really bringing up the global warming, that come up with the sea level rise, ultimately affecting all over the world, most of the coastal places. And in particular for Malaysia, they have expected 0.6 to 0.7 meters height in the sea level by 2100. But I don't think that it takes that long at the current scenario. It might approach much faster than the expected dates. So it is, unless we provide good measures, take good measures, and provide good support for the mangroves, at least we will be able to be on the safe side. And then this message must be taken quite seriously. And you will be surprised that recently the IUCN has released a global assessment saying that almost more than half of the mangrove ecosystems are at the risk of collapse by 2050. So it is very sad to have this story, but it is true. It is true. So the sea level rise is going and is coming up at a fast rate, and the erosion is going at many places. And recently today, the state of the world's mangrove 2024 has released. So if you look into it, it is freely available for downloads. If you look into it, they have come up with the threat status of the 36 mangrove provinces in the world. And unfortunately, our mangroves, which are categorized under Sunda shelf, are all categorized as vulnerable category. So it is really a very strong message that we have to take into account for the conservation and management of the mangroves. So what happens if we lose 50% of the mangrove ecosystems at the risk of collapse? So nearly 7,000 square kilometers of the forest will be lost and 23,000 square kilometers will be submerged if we don't take proper action. That as a consequence, you have a lot of carbon released back into the atmosphere and a lot of property loss, and a lot of people will lose their fishing grounds or whatsoever you climb it. So there are a big consequences are there if we don't take proper conservation and management measures. So to meet this kind of challenges, the Global Mangrove Alliance, which has been highlighted by Dixon, Professor Dixon as well, they have come up with a strategy called Mangrove Breakthrough. So they wanted to really have a 15 million hectares of mangroves really to be taken care by having at least $4 billion global share for the conservation and management of the mangroves all over the world. They have come up with certain principal guidelines and collective action measures. The safeguarding, especially in the principles, is the safeguarding of the natural habitats, especially the mangrove ecosystem, and empowering the best information and learn from each other. For example, we can learn from Philippines, we can learn from Indonesia, and they can learn from ourselves. So this can learn from each other. The stories, successful stories can be learned from each other. And most importantly is empowering the local people. As the theme of this conference is the mangroves are God for the coast, right? Safeguarding gods for the natural gods for the coast. But to me, there is another the guardians for the mangroves. They are nothing but the local communities. So when the local communities can act as the guardians for the mangroves, and mangroves can be guardians for the coastlines. So they have come up with so many actions that we can think of it, and like a habitat halting the mangroves and restoring the habitats, especially the abundant aquaculture ponds and so forth, because I don't think there is enough land to even the mangroves have a chance to progress landward, but unfortunately there is no land behind. So they might come up with a coastal squeeze, that which is dangerous. That means we lose the diversity and we lose the mangroves. That's where, most importantly, the long-term the monitoring of that particular efforts which have been taken for the conservation and management are quite important too. So let us keep protecting the treasure of mangroves for a sustainable life and safe planet. And thank you very much. I wish this message has brought up some good information to you to really take care of the mangroves in your places. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Aldrie.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Satyam, for the eye-opening presentation. Yes, combining Satyam's and Dixon's presentation just now, we got this very clear message, right? So Dixon and Satyam both actually highlighted on the priority for us to actually protect what we have at this moment. Yeah, there are a lot of studies already highlighting the loss and perhaps some gains somewhere along the tropics, but then hard work, yeah, hard priority must be put on protecting whatever we have at the moment, and and then strategize on how to conserve. And how to conserve, meaning it requires some work. Actually, it requires some effort to map a restorable area, yeah? Like both of them has had highlighted just now. So this is the work that needs to be done. This webinar is that, yeah, we need to like work collaboratively, the government, the authorities, yeah, with researchers, yeah, with local communities, to find out, yeah, to identify areas needed conservation and needed restoration, if you like, or rehabilitation, as well as to protect them, yeah, to ensure our local communities, coastal communities in particular. I like that map, Satyam, where you pinpointed all of these cities and towns all throughout the tropics. So as we highlighted before also, I mean, villages, right? Coastal village were established near mangrove for all of these benefits that they've provided. But then as these villages expanded to become towns, cities, yeah, they expand at the expense of these resources, right? So we sort of like derived, yeah, we derived from all of these mangroves around them. So now when mangroves gone, now they are suffering, right? Now we are suffering, yeah, because of all of these uh, incidents, all of these catastrophe that we are facing at this moment. Yeah. So a lot of work there. And thank you for highlighting. You're very quick. 3 hours ago, actually, GMA, Global Mangrove Alliance, launched that the State of the World's Mangroves 2024. So ladies and gentlemen, while watching, while listening to our speakers, you can like go on Google, go on the internet, to look for Global Mangrove Alliance's newest report
That
on
is.
the coverage, yeah, the latest one. Or I can share it later, maybe on the chat box later. Yeah. All right. So thank you again, Satya, for this presentation. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Yeah, the number is still increasing. Thank you very much. National Day for the Conservation of the Mangrove Ecosystems. I know this very well because they announced, the UNESCO actually announced the celebration of this day on my birthday, actually on 6 November 2015. So the first celebration was held in 2016. So this is a very interesting celebration, and what the Academy of Sciences Malaysia and the Tropical Science Foundation are doing today is actually to spread awareness, yeah, and then to increase our knowledge on the importance of mangrove. So done with some guidance on policy, on governance, yeah, on all the issues happening in the mangroves all around the tropics. And then secondly, we've heard on all the benefits and the issues, yeah, the key issues we spotted from the both presentation already was lost of mangrove, right? And how that impacted our society. So Mr. Nurazmeel. So Mr. Nurazmeel Mokhtar, hello. Azmeel, can you hear me properly? Let's test your
Hello,
microphone and say hello to everyone.
hello, doctor. Hello, everyone.
Hi,
How are you,
Nurazmeel. Okay.
doctor?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you very much
Great.
for joining us as a speaker today, Azmir. And it's good to see like a younger generation of conservationists, if you like, activists too. I
Yeah,
think I can address Nur Azmil. I
mm,
know Nur Azmil before as a staff, as a manager, I think, at the KK Wetland Center. It's Kota Kinabalu Wetland Center. It's the seventh Ramsar site in Malaysia, the sixth mangrove Ramsar sites in Malaysia. And he was, yeah, very adamant with his team working to protect it, managing it for the benefits of not only Kota Kinabalu, not only Sabah, but for the rest of Malaysia. It's a very cute, I would say, wetlands or mangrove. Yeah. So come when you visit Kota Kinabalu, go and visit KK Wetland Center. But the point is, I just got to know, I mean, from the organizers, from the secretariat, that you are now um uh in charge. Oh, now you shift from Sabah Wetlands Conservation Society to Sabah Environmental Trust,
yeah,
and you're now in charge of the Danum Maliau Imbak Rainforest Landscape. Yeah, is that correct, Azmi?
yes,
Okay, all
yes,
right.
doctor.
So that's a transition, but still, whatever happens there inland, yeah, would have impact on mangroves downstream too,
True.
right? So there you go. That's actually a very good transition because you've seen what's happening in the downstream of a river basin, if you like. So you have mangroves there. And now, Azmil, move a little bit deeper inside, looking at all these three grand rainforest landscape, if you like, yeah, the Danum, Maliau, and Imbak in Sabah. to have a look, go and visit these three important tropical rainforests. Yeah, because whatever happens inland will have impacts downstream, like highlighted by both Dr. Satyam and Prof. Dixon just now. All right, so Azmila is very smart. He's using the theme of the webinar today as his topic of presentation, or maybe it's vice versa. Maybe his topic becomes our theme today. Yeah, so let's hear from Nurazmeel, 15 to 20 minutes for you, Azmi, to highlight
All right.
whatever experiences that you've gathered in the past decade or so, and then how mangroves are very important to communities and how communities can actually contribute to mangrove conservation and protection. Yeah, so the screen is yours, Azmil.
Thank you, Dr. Aldrie. Just to check, is my are you able to see my screen?
Yes, the screen is fine, but your voice is a little bit soft, so maybe you have to like.
Okay. How is it now? Is it okay? Is it good?
Yeah. The screen is good, but your voice is a little bit soft, so maybe you want to like scream a little bit. Thank you, Azmin.
Thank you, Dr. Aldrie, for the quick introductions. My name is Azmin, and I would like to thank the organizers, Tropical Science Foundation and Academic Science Malaysia, for organizing this talk during the Mangrove Day. It is our day, actually. And so just a quick update to echo Dr. Aldrie's thoughts just now is that I am currently working with Sabah Environmental Trust as a program officer, where our work are mostly focused on the Damai rainforest landscapes. I shifted to terrestrial works from the mangrove side, but it's good to be back in the mangrove areas. And on the Damai, it's a Ganum Valley, Malayau Basin, and Imbak Canyon rainforest landscape, where we do patrolling and also enforcement to protect the whole landscapes in Sabah. And then but today I'll be sharing my work experience when I was working with KK Wetlands with the Sabah Wetlands Conservation Society. And thank you, Dr. Aldri, for the nice moderating of the session. I know if you know Dr. Aldri, you can always reach him via Facebook because he's very active there. And then it's very nice to see and to be with him for discussion sessions. And then so today I'm going to talk scaling down from Prof. Dixon's and Dr. Satyam presentations, where I want to scale down to one of the Ramsar sites in Malaysia, the Kota Kinabalu Ramsar site. And it's very cute, only 24 hectares. And it is located in if you're planning or you have never been to KK Wetland, this is the area, this is the location. It sits right in the heart of Kota Kinabalu. And if you are driving from KK, it's only like less than 10 minutes and very near also to the airport. And basically, this is the history of the mangroves, where in the early 80s, it was all mangrove swamp, but groups and environmentalists from the WWF and also the local communities that area, they discovered the importance of this mangrove swamp as a habitat for wildlife and also for bird species, migratory birds, the Chinese egrets and the adjacent stock. So they mooted this idea of lobbying this area for protections. And then it was not very easy because during that time you could find at least 200 illegal houses built in the wetland, in the mangrove swamps, where one house they were like 10 people, so eventually like more than 100 and 1,100 people living in the mangroves. And because of that, it has led to the loss of the mangrove habitats. They cut off the woods, then they just throw everything inside the mangroves, and it eventually leads to waste disposal problems and low water quality. And then eventually it was declared as a bird sanctuary in 1996 under the Sabah Land Ordinance, and further declared as the cultural heritage site for conservations in 1999. So there's two layers of protections, protect this area from developments and sites. And this is the pictures from 2003 and 2010, where you could see like there's kind of like a hole there in the mangroves, and this was the where the houses, illegal houses, were located. And then in 2010, reforestation or planting of mangroves has been done in those areas, and you could see that the mangroves are thriving there. But of course, this has some issues, which I will talk about later. And this is KK Wetlands now. They have a new building, which was funded by the federal government back in pre-COVID, 2019. So what's so special? What's special about KK Wetland is that it is the smallest Ramsar site in Malaysia. It's only 24 hectares, and it is the last remaining patch of mangroves in the coastline of Kota Kinabalu. It is also the only NGO managed Ramsar site in Malaysia. We have 7. The 6 others were managed by State Park and also the national parks. But for KK Wetland, this is managed by the Sabah Wetlands Conservation Society, where they manage the areas. They come out with the fundings, operational costs, and maintenance of the site. They were mandated by the Sabah Wildlife Departments to operate the bird sanctuaries, the KK Wetlands. And it is a model wetland center in Kota Kinabalu. As I mentioned, is very located in the middle of KK, and then if you want to, it is actually a window to other mangrove sites in Sabah. For example, if you want to like see the mangroves, like pygmy elephant in the mangroves, you need to drive like 7 hours up north, or if you want to see like fireflies or Proboscis monkeys, you could need to drive like 2 to 3 hours down south. See, but for KK Wetlands, because it is located in the middle of KK, it's only 5 minutes, and then it is a window to the mangrove ecosystems that we have in Sabah. So because of these strategic locations, we aim to do advocacy works and promotion the awareness of mangroves to the public, especially to the tourists and to general publics, corporate sectors and government departments, to be aware of the importance in conserving this small patch of mangrove forest, eventually leading to conserve the whole mangrove ecosystems in Sabah. So they have conducted over 5,000 environmental education programs for various participants. This is one of the programs that they've conducted, they are conducting in KK Wetlands, where they invite participants to do a nature walk inside the mangroves, where we have people, the staff, the officers explaining about the importance of the mangroves, and also to allow the participants to have kind of like hands-on activities in the mangroves. They were allowed to walk in the swamp, be in the mud, and get dirty. So most of the participants kind of like love it. And then they also do voluntary works and handcrafting of the mangroves, where they do paper making from used papers and from the leaves of the mangroves. Also, they were making charcoals, but this is not like the newly cut off trees. This is basically the old and the non-used mangrove species. So it is a good activity to open up the perspective and the view of the general public on the various purposes and the benefits of mangrove trees provides to us. And also they promote environmental voluntary work in the mangroves, where mostly they do mangrove cleanup in the mangroves because mangrove, because of the root systems, it traps most of the rubbish. The you could basically you could find anything in the mangroves. There's one time we found a fridge in the mangroves. We found like a baby bath. We found tires in the mangrove. So there's a lot of alien things, alien species in the mangroves, and that's why by doing this mangrove cleanup, it is one of the approach to educate the public. And also nursery work is for seedlings, mangrove seedlings, where we also have mangrove tree planting programs from these seedlings that were made in the nursery, and also composting works. And for inventory, species inventory in in KK wetlands, although it is only 24 hectares, it houses about 41 species of the mangroves. This is true mangroves and mangrove associates. About 21 species of true mangroves and 20 species of mangrove associates. And also it houses faunas like birds, mostly birds, reptiles, fish, up to nidarius, like jellyfish. And then, but because of this, it's only 24 hectares, right? And then it has one issues that were predates back from the earlier planting programs, where you could find like monoculture species where rhizophora has grown over other species, eliminating the other existing native species in KK wetlands. And this is mainly because during that time, during the early years, there were no proper planning on mangrove planting. And also because the seedlings of these rhizophora species they were easy to get, collected, and it was readily available. And then that's why they're using this particular species to do planting in KK wetlands. And for fast-growing rhizophora, for example, Rhizophora mucronata, it has outgrown the species, the working species like Sonoratia and Lumnitsera. I think they don't have Lumnitsera species anymore in KK wetlands, particularly the Rasamusa and the Litoria. And because of this also, this monoculture issues, one species, it has reduced the biodiversity of wildlife and mangroves in KK wetlands. For example, there was one area in KK wetlands that is actually a breeding site for purple heron, the migratory and other migratory species, where they nested in the acrostican species. And because of this, there's a lot of Rhizophora species eliminating the acrosticum. So eventually these birds, they have no place to nest. And because of this, there was one approach that we did back then was to do mangrove thinning, not cutting off entirely the mangrove, but selective kind of harvesting and thinning of the mangroves, mainly for clearing the view for tourism purposes, because you have migratory birds coming over KK wetlands, it's only for bird watching, and some of these rhizophora, they blocked all the views. And then also to open up areas that have high concentrations of wildlife, for example, the bird landing ground or the feeding ground of the birds. So we have to keep it open so that the birds can land and can look for foods and then in the mud. And the other approach to combat or to fight this monoculture thing issues is to increase the diversity of the species, mangrove species in the site, particularly on the associate mangroves, and also to reintroduce the eliminated species in mangrove, like Vicinia and Sonoratia species. And there was one conference that was organized by Sabah Wetlands Conservation Society. And one recommendation of John Yong was to plant the Skyphifora species to attract, the mangrove pita, and then we did that. But we still haven't seen basically the results. And also there's one suggestion to replant the Linnet Zeralitoria to attract the birds, which we have done, and I think that the birds are coming back in the wetlands, the Iora, so the stock the kingfishers and all. And this was the process of the thinning of the mangroves. You see on the bark or the mangrove that has been cut off was used in the programs, for example, charcoal making. So we do not throw it out. So we reduce the mangroves that is being cut off. And just to talk about other initiatives by the state in terms of mangrove conservation in Sabah, where the state is very supportive, is that there's a plan, and it's ongoing, to nominate Klias Peninsula Wetlands as the next Ramsar site in Malaysia. It's the 8th site, and this site will be very special, mainly because it will be the first Ramsar site that is not only mangroves, but mainly composed of peatlands. And then it is located between two districts of Beaufort and Kuala Penyet. So it's a transboundary site. And this is basically the size of the proposed area. Post-Klias Peninsula Wetland is a Ramsar site, 150,000 hectares, where they also have land use like state land, alienated land, and forest reserve. So it's not limited to mangroves only. And we are trying to use the approach of combination of this tree land use for the Ramsar nominations. And also just recently, 2 days ago, the state government was planning to launch the action plan on mangroves, which I believe in Prof. Dixon's slide just now, where the policy and the roadmaps of the mangroves beyond 2030 is actually very useful to be, the components to be implemented or to be integrated in this action plan. So we hope it will be launched like this year or early next year. And just to share also other funding opportunities for wetlands conservation, where the Ramsar Regional Center East Asia, based in Suncheon, South Korea, they have this grant funding opportunities for NGOs or departments that want to promote wetlands conservation, and also promote the celebration of World Wetlands Day celebration. So basically they have two thematic areas. One thematic area one is more broader view and more broader projects where you can get up to 10,000 USD in funding, and also the celebration of World Wetlands Day thematic 2 up to 5,000 US dollars. And yeah, I think Dr. Aldrie, that is this a quick sharing of my presentation based on the previous works that we've done in KK Wetlands.
Okay, all right. So thank you very much again to Nurazmeel and for this presentation. Thank you for highlighting all of these efforts done for KK Wetlands, on KK Wetlands, and all these efforts done by the state of Sabah, very proud of all of these efforts and initiatives. And of course, the new Klias Peninsula Mangroves as a Ramsar site, that's a very supported idea. Of course, all of us are happy to hear about that. And of course, you highlighted towards the end, Sabah, they will be launching the Sabah Mangrove Action Plan very soon. I remember being part of the discussion with WWF Sabah as they were developing these documents and work closely with the Sabah Forestry Department. So yeah, it's something to look out for. So pay attention to the news soon, yeah. Okay, all right. So thank you very much, Nurazmeel. Areas to be conserved and protected, hopefully, all around Malaysia, all around Asia Pacific, all around the tropics, hopefully. And of course, okay, let's now discuss. Dixon, are you back? Yes, Dixon is there, Satyam is there, Azmil is there. So there are several questions already we have received from the floor today, as well as some submitted questions from all of our participants today. Thank you very much to everyone for staying back after the three presentations from our three distinguished panelists today. So a couple of questions. I will try best to capture and to address all of these questions. Yeah, let's start first with a question from Nikmadi Irnawati. She's asking Dr. Behara, Dr. Satyam, about carbon in mangrove sediments. So, I mean, so far in your work, Satyam, can you share with on the slightly briefly, very briefly on the method and how deep, the sampling depth you measured for this carbon data study?
Thank you, Aldrie. Thanks for the question from Madam, I think. Actually, we use the pit corer from made in Netherlands, which can go. There are steel tubes at 20 centimeters tubes that we can attach to the handle, and we can go and get the sample for every 20 centimeters. So while going, you can add on the rods, extension rods to go for every 20 centimeters to have the core. It is a manual operation, which is easy. And that we recently bought that equipment for Malaysia also for UMT. It is costing around 150,000 nearby, 150,000. So that's where we already have that equipment, and we are welcoming other researchers to make use of that equipment for if any research conducted jointly with UMT and the other parties. So then once we analyze that 20 centimeters fractions, then from 20 centimeter fractions, we get subsample from the middle of the sediment, core sediment. And that one is subjected for the carbon sequestration analysis. So we got the total carbon content there. Yeah. That's how, in a nutshell, I can say that. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that quick response. Yes, and also if we can refer to the Blue Carbon Initiatives method, this also can be referred to. I think many of us are referring to this method also. So there are several, of course, approaches. I mean, science evolve, and of course, there are some discussion and differences, which actually, but in a nutshell, like what Dr. Satyam highlighted, was to get the whole idea. The soil of the mangroves, right?
Usually, it is a laborious job indeed.
Of course.
And getting the course from 10 meters is not really. I mean, you have to be there, and you have to finish that work like within 6 hours before the next tide come in. So in some areas it's possible, some areas not possible. So this is a challenge. That's where mangroves are dynamic. We really have to plan the selection of sites and the amount of manpower you have and the amount of equipment. So these all matters actually. That was the main limitation for exploring the deep core sediments from the mangroves actually.
yeah, walking in a mangrove is already a challenge to
Yeah,
many.
yeah. Then
Imagine
again, getting the
imagine
course itself.
carrying the steel rods, and yeah, I mean, carrying 1 meter is already very tedious. Yeah. All right,
Then
but yeah, there you go. That's why we need more and more researchers, especially younger ones, yeah, that Nurazmeel and then friends and all. I mean, all of this younger generation of research. Yeah. Satyam, okay, there are some policy questions, if you like, or some relating to how the governance system. So maybe if I can combine, okay, first, Dixon, ready, yeah? Okay, there's one question on from Amajit. She's wondering like how scientists relay data and findings to policymakers. That's one. And if you can also combine that question by answering this one issue, we have to highlight this because it's maybe slightly different with Philippines, because in Malaysia, there is a federal and state as well as a local authority, this level of governance. I don't know about, I think it's almost similar to Philippines, no, maybe different. But now the question is, this anonymous question, question actually suggests that issue on levels of governance. So if you can address, is that true? Is that not true? Untrue? Or yeah, what are your opinions on this, Dixon?
Yeah, thank you for that question. It's a very, very good question. It's the same question that I always pursue every day, all about governance. No, of course, how we communicate science to policymakers and to some extent politicians, no, who make the decisions as well. You know, I would say that there are many ways, no, and there have been many efforts to influence policy making with the right science. Many of the limitations why most of the time it is very challenging, or it doesn't work, or it will take a long time to connect scientists and policymakers. It's because there might already be, or there are likely to be, limitations at the scientists, among the scientists, and right there among the policymaker and politician. It appears that the scientists, with all their messages, they have to craft it in a way that it should be understood well. Should be communicated as a matter of urgency. If not, then the politicians and policymaker will not, take it as a priority. The second one is relationship. We can do it that way. Sometimes scientists are very, how to say that, allergic to politics. That doesn't work that way. Politicians make the decision. They craft the funding. You know, that's why scientists should revisit, themselves as to how they can be, in a way, put the shoes of politicians as well. Not becoming politician per se, but understanding where are these people coming from, because it's very important to find the right strategies to for them to listen to our science. And if that is still a long way now, it doesn't stop the scientists to really implement the right solutions on the ground, even without the support of the politician. That's why we also partner with non-politician, private sector. We go direct to the local community and demonstrate that all this can work. Then by that, politicians, policymakers will be able to see, oh, yeah, we agree, no, that it works. And because we did a pilot of that. So it's very important that, at the very start, where are they coming from? For the politicians, always to see is to believe. We cannot just put there a lot of graphs, but, always evidence-based. That's why we need to improve well our science, our basis, and demonstrate so that who knows, no, it will take shorter time for them to really adhere to that. Another challenge, I would like to now to respond to the second one, the layers of governance, right? So yeah, very tricky. Different countries have different layers. Some are really complicated layers, like mangroves is under the fisheries, but part of it is on the environment ministry. You know, all those are given. But the point that I have been, you know, pointing or pushing is we need a mechanism for coherent. That is, if we can institutionalize a roadmap where fisheries, the environment, the forest, they will agree all together that this is our plan. And we are going to craft our own programs, our own respective policies to be able to support this coherent and agreed roadmap. And that by doing that, I think it will be a meaningful and progressive move forward. Thanks for the question. Although my
Thank you.
question is too broad.
Yeah, how to connect and how to like communicate, right? And perhaps this is a job. I think I like your point of, scientists try to speak the language of the policy. It's hard. I know it's very hard, yeah, I mean, these are basically two different languages. But then yes, I mean, having more scientists becoming politicians is not a bad idea too, right? Anyway, but communicating, yes, I mean, like there are ways for us to facilitate this, and of course this can be also carried out or can be actually anchored by other authorities, for example, like local authorities, or perhaps NGOs and corporate organizations. Actually, they are in the position to connect science as well into policy as well, so they have roles to play. They can actually play that role too, right? So speaking of NGOs, speaking of communities, there are actually some questions for you, Nurazmeel. Um, there's this one question. Oh, no, sorry. Is there, wait, okay, sorry, I missed that one. I thought I marked it already.
Is it
Okay.
from Su Kyung?
Yes. Okay. Oh, there's a few more questions coming in. No wonder I missed that one. Okay. By the way, how policymaker retain indigenous people who are living in the mangrove rather than changing their habitat to other areas? So this is actually, related to your point of protecting the KK wetlands based on the past situation of KK, right? But how about changing? Is that a good idea? In fact, like, and there, of course, we know communities have been living in mangrove or nearby mangrove or behind mangrove most of the time in the past for few generations already, for example. But once effort to protect that area, this will be including displacing communities. Is that a good way to go, or is there any better way to do it, or whether or not to be part of the protection and conservation schemes or initiative? What do you think,
Um,
Nurazmeel?
yeah, thank you, Doctor. For taking KKLN as the example, the previous years, because it was illegal squatters, we say, and then they have no like proper documentation and all, so we have to relocate them in order to gazette the area as a bird sanctuary under the law. But there are some cases in Sabah, particularly in Kinabatangan, where communities are living, coexisting with the protected area, the protected mangrove reserves. So in many ways, communities can live within, of course, if it's a protected area, they cannot, for example, Sabah, they cannot live in the protected area, so they can like they have living surrounding the protected area. But also, the Ramsar Convention aims was to make wetlands, mangroves, or as a wise use to mangroves and also the communities. But I think it's a good, it's a good ideas if people can benefit from mangroves, as what was mentioned by Prof. Dixon. We can have more mangroves, but people will still be poor. So we have to tackle that. So in order to like increase the livelihoods of the communities, because they are the one that depending on the mangroves for their livelihoods.
Thank you very much for that point. Yes, actually, it will be a good discussion also to actually compare some of these international initiatives, national initiatives. Like for example, Ramsar actually allows
Yep.
Ramsar Convention actually allows for wise use or sustainable use, meaning it promotes community to use mangroves, whether or not it is conserved or protected, right? But then there are other stricter measures taken by states or federal government, like a protected forest, like forest reserve, for example. Permanent
Yep.
forest is you cannot enter without permits, right? So yeah, it may actually hinder encroachment in can still maintain or sustain their livelihoods by capturing fish, yeah, or seafood, yeah, from mangrove. So actually, yeah, there are measures, available by states. Actually, yes, you're right. Su Kyung Lim actually asked about, is there any plan to extend KK wetland to maybe Kingfisher, Sungai Inanam area? Do you have answer for that?
Yeah. So, Mr. Su Kyong Ling, actually, because the KK wetland is gazetted under bird sanctuary by the Sabah Wildlife Departments, so they've mandated Sabah Wetlands Conservation Society to protect the area. But if we want to extend, I think we need to take consideration if the area is it private area or is it designated as state land? But currently, I think there's no intention on expanding the areas to Kingfisher or Sungai, mainly because the designated area for Sabah Wetlands Conservation Society is only the mangrove, the bird sanctuary. But
Okay, right.
maybe we can propose in the future.
Yeah, there you go. So maybe these are pointers that need to be addressed, Nurazmeel. So you are in the position there. Through Sabah Environmental Trust or Sabah Wetland
Yep.
Conservation Society. Yeah, bring this up. So perhaps this is a voice from community grassroots voice that can be addressed to the higher level. Yeah. Thank you very much for the question and comments and answers. The first question actually came in about 2 hours ago as we begin our discussion. Is the development concept mooted lately, such as development close to nature or one with nature housing, mooted by developer kills the mangrove more with land clearing? I think that's quite obvious. Yeah, I mean, like there are concepts like building with nature brought by Ramsar Convention. No, Ramsar, where they actually develop this concept of building with nature. That means, protecting or conserving this disturbed area by having some mix strategy, like what Professor Dixon highlighted earlier. It's not just about planting. This is a strategy. This is also the knowledge that must be implanted in the minds of conservation efforts or conservation worker. Like, it is not just about planting. So this is what we need to address, and this is also has been addressed through so many efforts, through so many experiences all throughout the region. Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, we've learned about the weaknesses in planting activities from a long time ago. So we realize there are a lot of steps to actually be taken. Yeah, it's not just about planting. We have to understand land tenureship issues. Yeah, we have to understand the basic hydrology of that particular area. What are the causes? Resolve it through basic understanding and basic study of the particular area. Yeah. Okay, so I think we are towards the end of the time. I can see Daniel there already appearing on our screen. But let me answer this a couple of questions actually targeting or actually directed to me. It's actually related to one article I published yesterday on New Straits Times. Actually, all of you can actually read it. There's a link in the chat shared by Secretariat. That article, as well as the one that I highlighted by Dr. Satyam just now, the state of the world's mangroves. Yeah, there's a link for you to download and read the report. So basically, the question is, for any kind of nature conservation, would it help if the world population does not increase? This is a very tough question. This is human nature, right? Or nature for all species, right? We all species in this world. I mean, and also this is about survival of the fittest to will try hard to ensure the existence of our species, right? But for me, the issue is not, it is inevitable, like increasing population is there, and need to develop is there. We all countries in the world wants to become a developed nation, right? So the more important thing here is to manage. To me, in my understanding, perhaps supported by the panelists today also, it is managing population. So now area, land is limited. So we cannot expand vertically. No, sorry. Yeah, we cannot expand horizontally now. Maybe we have to go vertically, right? So with less area to develop or to be populated. So perhaps we go vertical, right? That's one very simple strategy. But then again, retreating from. So for responsible governments, you know already, you've heard of this projection of sea level rise. So working to adapt or to mitigate this impact must be taken. But of course, actions to adapt to this change also must be taken now, right? So yeah, long-term questions now, including can mangrove survive sea level rise? Yeah, they're still being argued. Yeah, but then don't wait until this argument finishes to come to a resolution, right? So we have to do this uh, responsibly. Thank you, Prof. Dixon, for adding to the point. Yes, responsible population, and as well as future looking trajectory as well as planning by the authorities. So thank you very much for the point, Prof. Dixon. Okay, so carbon offset, I think this will take some time. I think let's take 2 to 3 minutes to answer carbon issue. So maybe Satyam and Dixon can assist me on this. Okay, so how do you see mangrove sites, mangrove restoration sites being established or being demarcated for carbon scheme project? Is this really effective? I would like to hear maybe from Satyam first, and then Dixon, if you want to respond to that, Satyam. So yeah, turning mangrove sites into carbon scheme project, is this really effective for a country like Malaysia?
I would say, if you want me to direct answer, yes, definitely. For example, what we realized from the research findings from Matong, we tried to look whether the silviculture, the impact of silviculture on carbon stock, and we realized though the mangrove cutting for the charcoal production, we are losing the carbon stock back into the atmosphere. But the other forest types which are available within the mangroves of Matang, like protected forest and restricted protected forest, those are the ones really contributing to balance the carbon stock actually. So provided if we don't we keep the such kind of forest intact, probably at least the silvicultural rotation impact is minimal or at least the neutral. If we try to expand the charcoal production or the contractors cutting the mangroves, then definitely Matang at one stage goes negative carbon. So definitely that's why we recommended we have to have plan B for Matang, not plan only one plan. Now one plan is silvicultural rotation for the production of poles and charcoal. What if some natural calamities affect the mangroves? Some pest attacks, or at least some sea level rise or loss of mangroves, well, more lightning strikes and damage to the mangroves. So what happens? What happened to the contractor? Definitely it bring a lot of loss to the biomass of the
Correct.
mangroves. So then
And
ultimately the cycle is won't be the equilibrium. It will be disturbed a lot. So that's where we maybe the it is time to think about the plan B. What maybe it is good to we have advised to bring down the activity gradually, because we cannot stop at this moment, because it is going on from 100 years or more than 100 years now. So we cannot, people are not prepared to accept any changes. So only the alternative is try to bring down the activities in such a way with other alternatives for the local communities,
yeah.
and keep more and more mangroves intact that can help the carbon to a greater extent to so
Yes, thank you for that, Satyam. Yeah, I think I uh, a location, yeah, to address this issue, that we can test this, and then test on some of the alternatives as well. And of course, after 100 plus years, we are seeing impacts and implication. But then of course, again, the economic value as well must be considered here, right? I mean, the income for local communities, for example, are they like really benefiting from this industry? This is charcoal production, but then of course in carbon industry as well, if you like, if you can call it an industry now, right? Carbon market, if you like, yeah. And then of course benefits coming from these activities as well. Who's gaining from this carbon income, right? Income from selling this carbon. Where does it go to, right? People already asking, right? We want a very clear, very transparent um, uh, process, yeah, or dealing of these markets to
yeah, yeah,
we know also is actually not just for Malaysian market, it's also for Japanese market, and maybe Japanese market is way bigger, right? So but then another big question is coming up now about charcoal production, right? We're talking about, carbon, less pollution, but then using charcoal as fuel wood, or to burn food, right? Is this still sustainable? So that's a big question. It requires another discussion, not here, yeah? So, but things to ponder. But then, yes, maybe Dixon, if you want to respond to that, it's a little experience, little sharing on your big experience in Philippines and across.
Yeah, very nice question. In the Philippines, we cannot cut mangroves for charcoal. We have a national policy that prohibits all cutting. But that's a good model actually. We can demonstrate plantations for renewable energy, for example. No, but because the biomass is a renewable one. Yeah, I always say that there is already a pool of the future because we have a serious climate change problem. There will always be a space and a need for nature-based solution. That's a given. And one of the nature-based solutions would be mangrove rehabilitation. And that is the push of the present. And we have to know, of course, why is there in the first place mangrove deforestation problem? Because that's the root cause. And we can always see that in those areas where mangrove deforestation is very, very severe, we can find people who are poor. And areas that mangroves are just being given to favor development. So I'm coming from that perspective because when we pursue carbon project, which usually takes 10 years, 20 years for the benefits to be available for the people, I always advise for carbon developers, make carbon the aspect of carbon, credits or carbon offset secondary to the needed livelihood of the people, because that's the win-win design. If you take first, or you address first the basic needs and the parent needs, then of course they can wait for the 10 years and 20 years for you know the carbon credits or the benefits from the carbon project. So yeah, we have to reorient our models to be more of context needs based. Yeah, that's my sharing for that. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dixon. Yes, maybe final word from Nurazmeel, if you want to comment on or maybe general comment from your experience today, Azmil.
I think just to tap into the carbon, because it's still a gray area in my field, but of course they are now venturing into the terrestrial, but sooner they'll, I mean, venture into blue carbon and all. But uh, if you want to tap into like carbon, you have to be like transparent. Otherwise, I'm very supportive of it as long as it has guidelines, transparency. And one thing we can tap into is the CSR project by this company. I mean the carbon companies, to that's in the sense that it is more, they can contribute more to the local communities if it's in terms of like CSR programs. Otherwise, you cannot see the profits of carbon. Where does it goes after planting of the mangroves or seaweeds, for example?
And response to the questions and comments from our viewers today. And of course, there are, I think, another 30-40 questions there unanswered. But yeah, there you go. There's actually a signal to the Secretariat, maybe some of the questions that we need to address. And then, of course, the topics. Yeah, perhaps this webinar could be more frequent instead of just annually, and to address some of these big issue that towards the end we realize that carbon is actually, I mean, carbon markets, carbon schemes could be a very big topic to be discussed on. And of course, because the understanding is still, I mean, still very, very maybe at beginner's level, if you like. And actually, when Nurazmeel mentioned about terrestrial, it actually started off with green carbon before, like through our EDD plus and some other efforts on terrestrial. That is still going nowhere, right, for Malaysia in particular. And of course, now we have blue carbon concept being pushed, teal carbon, yeah, for freshwater swamp, peat swamp forest. So these are all, of course, still works in progress, right? But then whatever it is actually a mission for all of us to achieve, to get that medium to mediate conservation, I mean, comprehensively, right? So let's work together. I mean, keep on thinking, keep on addressing your ideas to be shared and to be discussed by our peers. Yeah. So I mean, for the benefit of all of us, not just our generation, of course, for future generations as well. Yeah. Okay. So and then of course we've learned a lot today, ladies and gentlemen. Let me quickly summarize the findings of our webinars today. We've learned that mangroves are important. Okay, although before the webinar we kind of know that, but our speakers today, and then a lot of hard work to be done still, to be carried out still. And the summary, if I can share with all of you, first, protect what we have left. This is the first thing we have to do, address this, whisper this or shout this to the ears of our leaders, yeah, our authorities, or who's in charge of land. So we've heard about how in the Philippines, in Malaysia also, land is a state matter. So let's discuss, or like Prof. Dixon's advice to us: speak nicely, speak softly to the politician, or try to speak their language on why this is important, why mangrove area is known as environmental sensitive areas, and why developing it or changing its land use is bad. So let's communicate this and then highlight to them things that close to their hearts, right? The people. So how mangroves are very important to us, to all of living in the highlands. Yeah, all of us have some kind of connection with mangroves and with the downstream habitats like mangroves. Yeah? And then, of course, conservation. And what are the measures to restore? Yeah? I mean, use science to support restoration. And of course, involving communities. That's the key stakeholders, because communities living in the coastal area are the first beneficiaries, yeah, of the effort to conserve. And then, of course, they will be there. They are there to actually become our eyes and ears, to support these conservation initiatives and efforts. And then, of course, like as advised by all three speakers, capture, know the value of these habitats and ecosystem, quantify them if you like, translate them into dollars and cents, ringgit, pesos, yeah, whatever currency we are using, so people can see. Because some people cannot see it, like infinity in dollars, if you like, if you ask me. But some people can actually give some value for that view alone. So imagine, right? Beauty is, of course, in the eye of the beholder. So different people will see different value in this kind of beauty. So, but then we have to agree to some numbers, right? Perhaps to help communicate this, or to speak this in different language, in socio-economic language, or politicians' language, if you like. And then, of course, policy. The way forward is to have that, to have roadmap, if you like again, Dixon's highlight of roadmap. Why roadmap? Because you want to get everyone's involvement, right? So if people cannot see the plan, how can they contribute? It's the same like having a map of restorable area. So if you have that map, company A, company B, company C to company Z can choose to support. Communities within that authorities in charge of that particular area know that this is within their responsibility. So there you go. Having good policy alone is not sufficient. It needs to be supported by some other legal tools, as well as plans and roadmaps. Yeah. All right. So there you go. I think we've come to an end, and of course, formally, I would like to thank all of the panelists today. Yeah? Professor Dixon, Dr. Satyam, Mr. Nurazmeel for being with us. Just another point that I want to whisper to the Secretariat. Let's diversify our panelists for the next webinar. Maybe have some awesome female scientists with us, yeah, to add to the and to give some diversity to our discussion. Of course, this also is responded to Azmeel's point just now of establishing Lumnizera, for example, Lumnizera litoria, because and Lumnizera racemosa, because of the colors of the. And protecting mangrove is not just about the plant, not just about the animals also. It's actually, by having this diversity, it gives colors, it gives music to mangrove. Actually, having birds visiting mangrove, a healthy mangrove, we have sounds, yeah, of crickets, of birds, yeah, of all other organisms living in the ecosystem. And of course, when you have diversity of plants, you will get different colors of flowers, yeah, different colors of leaves. It's not just plain green behind me. It's the mix of maybe how many bands of greens, yeah. Maybe Satyam can highlight that, or our geospatial scientists can address that. There apparently are like, I don't know, hundreds of bands of colors. So for green alone, maybe 10 to 20, I don't know. So there you go. So having this diversity, yeah, protecting mangroves, yeah, you will get this blue-green beauty, for the tropics as well as for the world. Yeah, and of course, I cannot leave this event without thanking the Academy of Sciences Malaysia, as well as Tropical Science Foundation. It's actually still in our screen. You can still see Mahathir Science Award Foundation. It's actually just renamed, yeah, to Tropical Science Foundation. This is what I was told. All right, and of course to all viewers, yeah, the number is still okay. It's 3/4 of the top number just now. But yes, thank you for staying intact and to the end of this webinar. And there are some requests actually for having this webinar being broadcasted or being published in a medium like YouTube maybe or Facebook. Daniel, if you can address this for approval of ASM and TSF. So other viewers, we want to reach out. Yeah, this is a very good point. I think it was Majid or some other viewers just now suggesting that yes, the message out to bigger crowd out there, yeah, to the masses. Okay, so I don't think I missed. Yeah, I may have missed some of our key stakeholders, maybe to the ministry, as well as this event. It was also supported by many of us. Actually, all of us in the screen now are part of the Malaysian Mangrove Research Alliance and Network, which is I hope will have more significant contributions, yeah, to the better management of not just mangrove in Malaysia as well as all throughout the region. In fact, yeah, Prof. Dixon also is part of us assisting us in Malaysia as well as through to our friends all along the tropics. Yeah? So again, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the organizers, on behalf of the panelists, thank you very much for your participation today. And today is one of the best reason. Of course, Mangrove Day is every day for many of us, but in particular, this is a day to celebrate, yeah, how important mangroves are, how important. Oh, okay. The Bunai seafood I'm having is actually because we have that healthy mangroves, right? So there you go. So people up the mountain, you have roles to play. Don't throw your rubbish, yeah, garbage into the river because it will come and smother the roots, like what our speakers have showcased just now. It can cause fire. Imagine these wetlands can get burned as well if you have like huge amount of pollution, a huge amount of potential to be burned. It's not just that, it will also spread diseases, you know, a lot of other calamities to our communities. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, if you give me this chance to like speak, I will speak another 1 hour, Daniel. So I better stop now. And let's perhaps organize more events such as this. And of course, maybe you want to promote about the Tropical Science 2020 Tropical Science Conference, yeah, happening soon.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Okay. Again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Aldrie, Dr. Satyam, Dr. Dixon, Prof. Dixon, and also Mr. Nurazmeel for a fruitful discussion. Let me take you 1 minute of your time for me to present you about tropical sign poster. Okay, just 1 minute. Okay. Okay, we present to you Tropical Sign 2024. The future belongs to the Tropic Second International Conference on Tropical Sign, Harmonizing Nature with Humanity, will be held in 16 and 17 October 2024 at the Waterfront Hotel Kuching, Sarawak. So we have 4 tracks, which is Tropical Agriculture, Tropical Architecture and Engineering, Tropical Medicine, and Tropical Natural Resource. We have also special themes, which is climate change in the tropic, open science in the tropical, biodiversity protection of indigenous and local knowledge in the tropic, as you can see. So don't forget to like and share our YouTube channel, Facebook, and also Twitter for this Tropical Science 2024 and support us. To the participants, thank you very much for attending this webinar from all over the world, making this program a success. I would like to remind the audience that this webinar is a pre-conference event of the International Conference on the Tropical Science, TropSc 2024, that will be held in October in Kuching, Sarawak. We have more pre-conference webinar coming soon. So please join us next time. And if you would like to watch the recording of today's session, you can watch the recording of today's session. You can check out our YouTube channel. We will post and upload the video soon. Goodbye and till the next time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Happy World Mangrove Day, everyone. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye, Aldrie.
Bye.
Bye, everyone, Dixon. And